Hey everyone, this is Randy from BibleBuyingGuide.com. Today I'm taking a look at the new Cameo reference edition in red letter and blue goatskin from Cambridge. This is an elegant Bible, an elegant goatskin. I expected to like it, but I didn't expect to like it as much as I do. And I'll show you why in just a few minutes. First of all, the box, they've gone to a matte finish, which I like. Previous editions had the shiny, and that matte looks more elegant to me. I like that. But that's enough about the box. All right, so we have a blue goatskin. This is also available in green. The blue and the green both include 3 ribbons that match the color of the cover. So we have the blue goatskin with 3 different shades of blue for the ribbons, and then so we have blue and white head tail bands, blue under gold gilded edges, and then the cover is softer than normal. There's a good reason for that. Then softer than the original edition that I have, and I'll show you in just a few minutes. But the green is pebbly and a little bit more pronounced than some of the other Cambridges that I have, specifically the topaz. But it's not as grainy as the original Cameo that I've got in goatskin, but I still like this better. So we have gold printing on the spine, 5 spine ribs, spine hubs, perimeter stitching, nothing printed on the front. This is ultra soft, very flexible, because it has a calfskin liner. It's actually calfskin. I did confirm that with them. There's the perimeter stitching. It would look a little more elegant if it had a gilt line around it, but that's not a big deal. But then we have edge lined. Now, edge lining with leather is better than edge lining with anything else, in my opinion. This works really well. One thing I like better about this one over the last one, I'll show you in just a few minutes, but it is a little bit stiff, but it's not too bad. So we have several thick end sheets in the front, and then one presentation page, 28 GSM paper. This is the paper that's made in France, and it's a Royal Jongbloed exclusive. There's the paper. I can't pronounce that, so I'm not going to try. Paper supplied, but it's the French milled paper. And then we have printed in the Netherlands by Royal Jongbloed, typeset in 8-point petite medieval Clarendon, and that's an old typeface. This is the typesetting was done in the 1920s, so it's about 100 years old. And it was done with the hot metal press, and so you're going to have a bold text, and you're going to have some words that are a little closer together than others, and then you're going to have some letters that fill in with ink a little bit more than others. So, this is all hand done. So the hot metal press, all hand typeset. The text itself, since I've already shown you the text, it has self-pronouncing marks in the text, italics for supplied words, double column, verse by verse, the typical King James setting. The 8-point font is easy to read. It's dark. The paper is highly opaque. That is some extremely opaque paper. Even considering how dark this text is, that paper is amazing. There's our blue under gold, how it looks opened. The turquoise looks a little bit darker. I'll compare that one in just a few minutes. It does have center column references and footnotes in the text, and they're placed as close to the location that they go to as possible. But now it'll have like an A over here, and then a B over here, and a C over here. So it goes from top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom. So you might have a verse with A and a C, and then B is over here. So that can be a little bit confusing if you're looking for something. You just have to be aware of it. Not a big deal, but you do have to be aware of it. It does have references, in Genesis at least, to the Apocrypha, because this version does not have the Apocrypha, but they did make a Cameo with the Apocrypha. And since that's the case, then there are a few in here with a few references to the Apocrypha. They've just left them in. Across the top, we've got page summaries, and sometimes there's 2, and sometimes they span across the page. Book names in the top with chapter number, then in the footer, page number. Now this is not line matched, although a lot of lines do line up. That's not on purpose. This was designed before line matching was ever needed, because the paper 100 years ago was far more opaque and thinner than what we have today. They would use something like a 20 GSM paper that was a lot more opaque than what we have today. But I like this paper. It has a little bit of an eggshell color, and you can see in the inner margin there, in the gutter, a touch of a cream color. I like that. I don't like a deep cream, but I like just enough to give it some off-white, a little bit of eggshell color, a little ivory. I think ivory is probably the better word for it. It looks good, easy on the eye. You can read this for a long period of time. I love reading this. Now this one is a red letter edition, and there's the red. This is the best red I've seen in a Bible. That is a good red. It's a good, bold, dark red. That is excellent. Now, red only goes through the book of Acts. And there might be one in 1 Corinthians. But it's the words of Christ while on earth. So we don't have red in the book of Revelation at all. So that's black letter. This Bible is excellent for holding and carry and reading. I've used it for a week, and I'm enjoying this. Good concordance. This is the same concordance as in the Turquoise. 139 pages. It is in paragraph, so I do find that a little bit difficult to read, to find what I'm looking for, but it's fine. You get a lot more entries in less space in paragraph, so it works. I don't use it so often that I can't use this. And then the Cambridge maps, that includes the map index. There's the list of maps. 15 maps. Detailed map index that's color-coded. And this is on thick paper. Then the maps are on the thick, non-glossy, matte paper. Very colorful maps. I like these maps. Easy to use, easy to read. Lots of good information in there. And that's it. So let's weigh it. And see, that'll roll around there, no problem at all. You don't want to try to fold the spine, but rolling around like that's not too bad. Let's go ahead and weigh it and measure it. We got 5 1/4, 7 1/2 by 1 3/8 at the spine. Goes in a little bit, so it's a little bit smaller here, but at the spine 1 3/8. That's excellent for carry, excellent for reading, excellent for holding. If you can read the smaller font, it's an 8-point, but it's dark, so it reads a little larger than it actually is. It's easier to read than fonts that are larger than this. So if you're okay with an 8-point font, then this Bible is amazing. I highly recommend this as a travel Bible, as a carry to church Bible. You can even preach from it if you don't need a large font for preaching. Excellent. I love this Bible. Let's weigh it real quick. 1 pound, 6.2 ounces. Now, the best way to show you why I like it so much is to compare it to the previous edition that I got this one in 2011, I think. So this is also goatskin, and there's how they compare. The grain is deeper on this black one, but it's not as soft and it's not as elegant. Of course, it's going to be the same footprint and all that, but it actually looks a little thicker, and I don't know why that is. I was thinking the older one had thicker paper, but I might be wrong there. But the new one is thicker. But I'll show you why I prefer the new one to the old one. And if you have the old one, I recommend upgrading to the new one, and here's why. The old one has a synthetic liner, and I'm not a fan of synthetic liners at all. And it's actually one of the reasons I haven't used this Bible as much. You know, I would have used it more. There is a little bit of wear. You can see that cracking. And then another thing is that when I open it, it just closes. It's edge lined. Now it stays open there, and there's Exodus, there's Genesis. It does stay open there, but it wants to close on its own. And that one has the 2 ribbons. This one That just stays closed, stays open. It stays open on its own, no trouble at all. A little bit stiff here in the front at first, but it will stay open in Genesis. It does try to close a little, but that's only because I've only had it for just a week. It's not going to close on me. I can preach and teach from this, no trouble at all. That's not going to fight me too much. Now, I personally prefer a little bit larger font for preaching, but that's me because I'm in my mid-50s and glasses and all that. But yeah, that's excellent, and I do prefer it to the original, or at least the original that I've had from 10 years ago. And I'll show you the red letter. It's basically the same. Here's how they compare. Interior, they're the same Bible. The new one has newer maps. This one's got the older set of maps that are nice, but not as nice as the new. It doesn't have the color-coded index. Still really nice, and there's the concordance is the same. Excellent Bible, but the new one is a lot better. We'll compare to a few more Cambridge editions. I already mentioned the Concord, by way of showing the box at least. Concord is one of my favorite Bibles of all time. Perfect size. I love it. But the Cameo is even smaller. A little thicker, but not a lot thicker. We have a 9-point font in the Concord, and it is also red letter. And you can get it in red or black. It's just a clean text. Slightly larger font, but it's not a lot larger, just a little bit larger. But it also has a few other tools. So if I can bring this up here, you can see it a little bit better. A little bit cleaner layout for the Concord. And that is due to it not having reference keys in the text. And this also has the same concordance, but it has a Bible dictionary. There's some things in there you might not agree with, but it's still overall a good dictionary. And then it has a glossary. And then it has the maps. The same maps with index. That's an excellent one. But now this one also has the synthetic liner that I'm not a fan of. But still, the Concord is one of my favorite Bibles. But if you're looking for something, and you don't need the larger font of the Concord, and you don't use the glossary, or you don't use the dictionary, then the Cameo is a better option, in my opinion. Just a few more Cambridge editions. By way of comparison here, there's the Pitt Minion, 2nd edition. Same footprint. A lot thinner, about half the thickness. Now this one's paste down liner, and then a lot smaller text. This one is around a 6-point, 6.5 in that range. And then here is red letter versus, and they're both center column reference editions. I love the Pitt Minion, but it's too difficult for me to read. Also, the Pitt Minion 2nd edition is a paragraph edition with poetic setting, which I love. Another of my all-time favorite Bibles is the Clarion, and I have it here in calfskin. The goatskin cover looks the same as the Concord. But as you can see, and that was an ESV, and as you can see, the footprint is similar. The Cameo is slightly thinner and not quite as wide. Also has a rounded spine, which I prefer. But I love the Clarion. Beautiful Bible. Now this one's a black letter edition. Single column paragraph reference. Has more references, 45,000 verses. Around 40 to 44. I'm not sure exactly, but in that range. Here's how they compare. a lot darker in the Cameo, and not as much white space. The Clarion has a lot more white space in the text. It's a lot easier to read and see. There's prose. Both hand-size editions. Easy to read and carry and hold. And I'll show the topaz. This is the New King James topaz. And the reason I'm showing the New King James, the King James has exactly the same typeface, but I have the New King James in blue goatskin. And the goatskin on it is smoother than on the Cameo. And they all have the same paper. And there is the difference in footprint. About the same thickness. And here is the size difference. And this one's a red letter edition, so we'll compare red letter to red letter. And you can see the blue art-gilt is the same between them. A little bit of an aqua color. Here's how they compare. A bit more red. And then a little bit more black. Now the topaz is a lot more elegant. It's designed to be elegant. And the one I'm going to guess you've been waiting for, the turquoise. I happen to have the turquoise also in blue. Now the turquoise is a different setting. So here's the footprint. Quite a bit difference in size. Quite a bit difference in the leather grain and in the blue. The blue on the Cameo is really dark. It's almost black. And then here is the typeface and the blue art-gilt. Big difference in that blue art-gilt. Huge difference. I'll zoom in just on that. Big difference in that blue. And now the typeface is a similar family, similar font family. So that they're both designed about the same time. They're both hot metal press, and in this case they're both red letter. Here's what the red looks like. So you'll see similarities, and they're similar enough, and they use the same references. They're similar enough. The Cameo almost feels like a hand-sized turquoise. But they're not the same layout. They do have a different pagination. And then here's black. So that's how the black compares. And this one also has a leather liner, same as the topaz. And just to compare to a couple of different Bibles, I have the Canterbury. Now mine is not goatskin. This is the calfskin, which I like a lot. I'd like to see them bring that back. And they have about the same footprint, same paper. Main difference being the layout. While the Canterbury is also available in a larger version, the Canterbury has a digital font. It's not quite as dark. It is clean, but it can be a little bit more difficult to read because it's noticeably lighter. Psalms is beautiful. It has a beautiful layout there for Psalms. Let's look over here at the red letter. There's its red compared. And of course comparing that blue art-gilt. Big difference on that art-gilt. That's how they compare. And then the main difference also being that the Canterbury has the references in the footer. Now this one, Canterbury, has maps and some lined paper, but no concordance. And then finally, the Brevier Clarendon. Now, I don't have a Brevier Clarendon in Goatskin, so it's not really a fair comparison, but I do want to show the size, and I do want to show the layout compared. The size is about the same. The Brevier Clarendon is a touch thinner, but it has 22 GSM paper, if I remember correctly. So it is quite a bit smaller paper-wise. The font is about the same. Layout about the same. Not a major difference between them. The main difference is the tools in the back, where we have the Oxford Dictionary and then the Oxford maps. That's the main difference. This is a black letter edition, of course matching the Brevier Clarendon wide margin. Now, the Cameo at one time was made in wide margin. I would love to see them bring that back. If they want to make me happy, they can do that for me. But that's how they compare. I'll zoom in. They're very similar in design and size and shape and all that. Probably the most similar Bible out there to the Cameo. So that's my quick look at the blue Goatskin Cambridge Cameo Reference Edition, KJV. That is a beautiful Bible. I like this Bible. It's going to be hard for me to want to grab something different to take with me anywhere. That's just an easy Bible to grab, an easy Bible to read, beautifully opaque paper, easy to turn, no issues turning the pages at all. It stays open well. Easy to read from. I haven't preached from it, but I'm going to try. Beautiful. So if you're looking for a Bible and you don't need a lot of references, it has around 40,000+ by my estimation. If you don't need a whole lot of references, then this is a great choice. Excellent choice. And if you don't need a dictionary and things like that, this is excellent. I like this Bible a lot. I can't recommend this one enough. I'm a Cameo fan. I'll go ahead and tell you that. This Bible will make you a Cameo fan. There's no way you can have this Bible and not be a Cameo fan. I like this Bible a lot. So I'll place links in the notes so that you can make a purchase if you're interested. Cambridge did supply this in exchange for an honest review. Honestly, they've done well with this Bible. They've done an excellent job. The only downside to it is the fact that it's such an old setting. It will have some letters that blend. Some of the things in the center column are going to be difficult to read. Some of them fill in with ink. Some of these letters, it's kind of hard to tell some letters apart a little bit. That would be my main complaint. And that's just the nature of what this Bible is. But if you're interested in a Cameo, I recommend either getting the blue one or the green one because they're leather lined, and that's well worth its money. I recommend it. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.